Today, I want to share with you a tool that'll help you to gain control of almost any emotionally charged situation, particularly when you're interacting with someone close to you, a family member, a loved one, a close friend, uh, or even somebody who is in a difficult or dramatic situation with you. But it's not just those situations, it also works for even more personal situations, and it also helps with respect to how we interact with the news and the media and the broader world. So this one's going to get a little personal, so gather around. This is something that clients have found useful over the years, particularly in emotionally charged depositions or facing cross-examination. But it works in so many situations. Really, anytime you find yourself confronting aggression, say, I see you. And it will, just for a second, calm the chaos. It will help to put you in control of the situation or remind you that you are there to act and not merely to be acted upon. And it will expose, if you pay attention, the real motives behind the aggression, the real energizing force behind the aggression. How does that work? Well, it works because it forces your brain to remember that you are you, and it otherizes the source of the aggression. Right? It also makes you the actor and reminds your brain that you're in control. It's kind of like if you're ever told, don't think blue or don't think about elephants. Well, you think about blue and you think about elephants. You can't not, because in order to understand what the sentence means, you have to think about it. And that's how this works. It's not that you do see what's going on and then you say it. The act of saying it will crystallize for you for just a moment the source of the aggression. It will separate you from it. It will expose to you why it's happening to some extent. And if you really pay attention, you can gain great insights into what's going on. Because people don't actually get angry because they're angry. People get angry because they're threatened or they're insecure or they're hurt or they're suffering or they are reliving childhood trauma. Or sometimes it's the result of cognitive dissonance that's being brought up in them because they are greedy or desperate, and rather than acknowledge the reality, they're lashing out, and they'll be contemptuous and aggressive and hurtful. Now, this isn't going to stop them from doing that. It's not like it's going to make the aggressor or the abuser or the assailant stop. But what it will do is give you just a moment of clarity to decide what you're going to do, how you're going to respond. And it'll help you to understand in that moment where it's coming from, what's really happening. Because it's not about you. When somebody is raging at you, it is not about you. And that's what this helps you to remember. It puts your brain back in the mode of understanding what is external to you, what is not you, and what you are in control of. So if a teenage child is raging at you, it can help you to remember you do not have to respond in kind. It can help you to it can help to remind you that you are in control of how you react. And it can help in just that moment you to remember and to see the trauma or the insecurity or the suffering that is driving that teenager to act that way. Or it could be a significant other, or it could be a sibling or a parent or anyone else in your life, a colleague, a opposing party in a case, a lawyer. And it doesn't just work for other people. When you find yourself in a situation where maybe you're feeling anger rising in you, or you're feeling agitation and anxiety rising in you, it works for that too. Say to yourself, to your emotional tidal wave, I see you. And for just that moment, you regain control of the situation. You become the actor, and you become the one that is choosing what you're going to do next. Because even if it's you that's feeling angry or it's you that's feeling anxious, that's still not you. You still have the ability to control how you respond to whatever may rise up in you. Now, like I say, this is not magic. It's not going to stop the abuser, the aggressor. It's not going to stop the panic attack, but it will give you a moment to decide how to respond, and it will give you a moment of clarity. It just calms the chaos, and what seemed a tidal wave only a moment before suddenly seems totally manageable. Let me give you an example. Suppose you are awakened with a headache, you've got a severe throbbing in your head, you feel miserable, and there is a pounding noise that is intruding on your thoughts, and it is frustrating, and you keep hearing it, and it is building in you, and the frustration is building in you, and you're increasingly agitated about it. Say, I see you. And what that does is it helps you to recognize that part of the reason this agitation is building in you is because you want the noise to stop. You want the throbbing in your head to stop. But like so many of us, you don't immediately recognize, okay, what's the source of this agitation I'm feeling? What's the source of this sound? What's the source of this headache? And do anything about it. Instead, you just slowly feel increasingly agitated and increasingly frustrated. And by doing that, it gives you it's not going to stop the throbbing in your head. It's not going to stop the noise, but it gives you a second, just a moment of clarity to say, oh, that's from construction, my neighbor's construction project. That's not going to stop, but maybe I can do something to insulate myself from the noise, or go elsewhere to avoid hearing it, or put in earplugs. Take some action yourself. It reminds you that you are the one that can take control of this situation. Maybe you go take, Advil or an anti-inflammatory for the headache, or get water, but it doesn't make it go away. And if you were to be expecting that you're going to say this to yourself and suddenly everything will be better, you'd be disappointed. But that's not the point. The point is that it gives you a moment of clarity to figure out what you're going to do about it, and it makes a huge difference. It's such a useful tool. What does this have to do with, consuming media and the news? Well, it works for that too, and it's actually even easier. When you read an article that is hyperbolic catastrophizing, you can recognize, this journalist is desperate. This journalist is trying to get clicks. This journalist is trying to win adulation from his colleagues, or trying to get even with somebody, settle some sort of personal score. Or you see that a politician has gone back on yet another campaign promise. You can say, I see you. I know what's going on. You see the narcissism and the greed that motivates so many in the public eye. And it allows you to just take a step back and say, okay, well, I know that's there and I can move on. It keeps these things at arm's length so that you can avoid having them intrude on your personal sense of well-being and your personal peace. It's something that's been really useful. I hope it helps. And I think it's the first step to interacting with the world in a measured and productive way, because it even works for online trolls or people who are wanting to debate online, who maybe are have more energy for debate than they do knowledge about a particular topic. It can help you to recognize where they're coming from, recognize whether it's worth actually trying to engage with them and to have a good faith conversation, or maybe this is a person who's not coming from an honest place or not able to recognize where they are coming from, and it's just not worth your time. And you can just say, oh, well, we disagree on this thing, but that's okay, and move on. So it's not going to solve everything, and it's not going to stop people from leaning into their worst selves. I mean, if somebody's determined to be a jerk, they're going to be a jerk, and you're not going to stop them. And if somebody's determined to be completely self-interested and only look out for themselves, you're not going to stop them. But this is a way to help keep all of that at bay, to help keep a perspective on it, to calm the chaos when you need to help to avoid being overwhelmed by the emotions and the difficulties that we face, to help to keep a level head when our loved ones are struggling, and to interact with the world on our terms instead of on their terms. I hope this is helpful. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you on the next one.